9 hikers, all experienced, all trained, all prepared. They had done this before, many times. On the night of February 1st, 1959, something happened in the Ural Mountains of Russia that caused all 9 of them to tear open their tent from the inside and run barefoot into minus 30-degree temperatures. They didn't grab their boots, they didn't grab their coats, they ran. From something so terrifying that freezing to death in the snow was better than staying inside that tent. 6 of them died of hypothermia. The other 3 had injuries that medical examiners said could only have been caused by a force equivalent to a car crash. 1 was missing her tongue. 2 were missing their eyes. Some of their clothing tested positive for radiation. The Soviet government sealed the investigation files for 30 years. The case was officially closed. The official cause of death? A compelling natural force. That is all they would say. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident. And 65 years later, nobody has been able to fully explain it. January 23rd, 1959. 10 young hikers set off from the city of Sverdlovsk in the Soviet Union, today known as Yekaterinburg, Russia. They were students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, young, strong, and experienced in winter expeditions. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, an engineering student with extensive hiking experience. The goal of the expedition was to reach the summit of Otorten, a remote peak deep in the northern Ural Mountains, a grade 3 difficulty trek, the highest category in Soviet hiking. These were not beginners. 1 member turned back after a few days due to knee pain. The other 9 continued. They were Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonashenko, Alexander Zolotarev, Nikolai Thibaut Brignolel, Alexander Kolovatov, and Lyudmila Dubinina, one of 2 women in the group. Their last known photographs were taken on February 1st. Setting up camp on the slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl. In the local Mansi language, Kholat Syakhl means dead mountain. When the group failed to send their telegram home by February 12th, a search party was dispatched. On February 25th, they found the tent. What they saw made no sense. The tent was intact, still standing. All the hikers' belongings were inside. Their boots, their coats, their food, their equipment, everything they needed to survive, left behind. The tent had been cut open from the inside, slashed with a knife from within. Someone, or something, had caused these 9 experienced hikers to abandon everything they needed to survive and flee into the frozen darkness. The temperature that night was minus 30 degrees Celsius. The search party followed footprints in the snow leading away from the tent, downhill toward the tree line. What they found over the next days and months would become one of the most disturbing discoveries in the history of mountaineering. The first 2 bodies were found near a large cedar tree at the edge of the forest, 1.5 kilometers from the tent. Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonashenko. Both were in their underwear. Their hands were burned, as if they had tried to climb the tree and hold on to a fire simultaneously. Branches high up in the cedar had been broken, as if someone had climbed it desperately, perhaps to see something, perhaps to escape something. 3 more bodies were found shortly after. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. They were found in positions suggesting they had been trying to crawl back toward the tent, as if, whatever they were running from, they had changed their minds and tried to return. It was too late. All 5 had died of hypothermia. But the real horror came 2 months later. In May, when the snow melted, searchers found the final 4 bodies buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. And what the autopsies revealed shocked even the most experienced investigators. Nikolai Thibault Brignolel had a catastrophic skull fracture, the force required equivalent to a car crash at high speed. Alexander Zolotarev and Lyudmila Dubinina had massive chest injuries, multiple broken ribs, fractured from the inside. The medical examiner noted there were no external wounds, no bruising on the skin consistent with the internal damage. Whatever crushed their chests did so without leaving a mark on the outside. And Lyudmila Dubinina, her tongue was missing. Her eyes were missing. The Soviet investigators had no explanation, as if the injuries weren't disturbing enough. The clothing of several hikers tested positive for radiation, not extreme levels, but detectable, unexplained. The Soviet government immediately intervened. The morgue was sealed. Hikers' organs were removed and sent to laboratories whose findings were never made public. The KGB took over aspects of the investigation. The files were classified. Local Mansi tribespeople reported seeing glowing orange spheres floating in the sky over the mountains on the night of February 1st. Other witnesses from different locations reported the same thing. Military personnel in the area that night also reported the glowing lights. A photographer in the search party captured images of strange circular shapes in the sky above the pass. The Soviet government said nothing. The investigation was officially closed in May 1959. Cause of death: a compelling natural force. The files were sealed until 1990. Decades of investigation have produced many theories. Theory 1: avalanche. The most recent official Russian investigation in 2019 concluded that a rare slab avalanche had struck the tent, causing the hikers to flee in panic. Swiss scientists supported this theory in 2021, but critics point out no avalanche debris was found. The slope wasn't steep enough, and avalanches don't remove tongues and eyes. Theory 2: military weapons testing. The radiation on the clothing, the internal injuries with no external marks, the glowing spheres in the sky. Some researchers believe the hikers were caught in the blast radius of a Soviet secret weapons test, possibly an experimental rocket or infrasound weapon capable of causing internal injuries without external trauma. The Soviet military was active in the region, and they never fully explained what they were doing there. Theory 3: infrasound. Some scientists propose that the mountain's geography could create infrasound waves, frequencies below human hearing, that cause extreme panic, disorientation, and hallucinations. The hikers may have been driven to terror by a sound they couldn't hear. Theory 4: the Mansi people. Early investigators suspected conflict with local tribespeople who considered the mountain sacred. This theory was largely dismissed. No evidence ever supported it. Theory 5: something else entirely. The glowing spheres, the radiation, the sealed files, the injuries that defy explanation. Many researchers believe the full truth has never been, and may never be, released. 9 people set off into the mountains on a winter morning. Experienced, prepared, excited. Something happened that night that terrified them so completely. They chose the frozen darkness over whatever was in that tent. 6 froze to death. 3 were crushed by a force that left no marks. 1 lost her tongue. The Soviet government sealed the files for 30 years and called it a compelling natural force. What force compels 9 experienced hikers to run barefoot into minus 30-degree temperatures? What force crushes ribs without bruising skin? What were those lights in the sky? We still don't know. 65 years later, we still don't know. The case is cold, but the truth never freezes. Subscribe to Dark Cold Cases. Every week, we reopen the files the world forgot. Because 9 people walked into those mountains and never came home. And they deserve an answer.